my name's Lambros Demos, and welcome to Live Lunch and Learn. Good morning. Oops, is my mic on? Okay, great. Sorry, again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'll get right into it. We have an election coming up in exactly 1 week from today. And one of the major topics of concern for voters in this election is housing. So each party has put out their own housing platform. So I thought I would break down each platform in an objective way, without any sensationalism or biases, et cetera, just to help people because, this market's crazy. And as I mentioned a second ago, it's a major topic of concern for voters. And to do that, I have also brought in one of the brightest minds in the business. He is a rock star in the world of mortgages, always tells it like it is. He was awarded the Mortgage Broker of the Year in 2008, has been inducted into the Canadian Mortgage Professional Hall of Fame as well. He was on the hit show Hot Property for about 19 years and now has his own Instagram live show called The Wise Old Owl. So without any further ado, please welcome the Wise Old Owl himself, Vince Gaetano.
Hey, wow, what an introduction.
Sorry, I was a little caught off guard because my system crashed and I had to reboot. I wasn't sure if you would still be here or not. So
rock star,
yeah.
Hall of Fame. Boy, I should be dead.
No, not yet. Living legend. That's the way I call it.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I was I'm humbled.
No problem at all. My pleasure. Actually, I really enjoyed watching you on the Hot Property show, as I mentioned in our phone conversation last week, because you always had something, offered some nuggets of information that I could take away from that. And you always seemed very sincere and provided a lot of value. So, and I'm glad to see that you're continuing that now with Instagram. So, with your Wise Old Owl show on Instagram.
I think that education and financial literacy is something that is very important. Young adults more than ever need help with that sort of stuff. And that's our mandate here at Owl Mortgage. Our mandate is to help as many people as possible. Get into housing. Understand how it works, understand that it is an achievable goal as much as the media wants to present it as something that's unaffordable. There are ways to get into housing, and our goal is to help them, present some tools and some ideas and strategies to get there, and we'll do it one person at a time.
Excellent. So speaking of getting into housing and affordability, et cetera, as you know, each party has put out their own proposals as to what to expect. So why don't we just get right into it? We'll start with the Liberal platform. I'll bring it up on the screen here just for our audience's sake. Here we go. So there's a number of points here. There's a few other ones as well, but these are some of the major ones. So first one, invest $4 billion into the Housing Accelerator Fund to grow the annual housing supply in the country's largest cities every year, creating a target of 100,000 new middle-class homes by 2024-25, build and repair more affordable housing, and convert empty office space into housing. So, this one obviously speaks to the supply, which is the main point of concern, obviously, with the supply. So, I'm sorry, Vince, are you getting some feedback there? A little bit of clicking noise? Yeah? I'm not sure where that's coming from. Let me see if it's coming from my end here. And I can try and get rid of that. So, but I'm not sure where that's coming from. It's very strange. Okay, so let's dive right into this here. Yeah, so they're saying they're creating a target of 100 new middle-class homes by 24-25. I'm assuming that's in addition to the already planned 250 homes a year, right?
It looks like they're trying to ramp up off the original goal of 250, so it'll be 350. I think the parliamentary budget officer did indicate that the plan does, over the term of the plan, the Liberal program would generate about 150,000 new homes. What's interesting about this is there are a lot of triggers to help people get into homes. And what worries me is that increases demand. And when you increase demand, it's going to increase prices as there's
Mhm.
more and more people looking for homes without supply. That is going to drive prices up. So I don't know how these plans, all of them, regardless of political affiliation, are really going to.
Oops. Okay, we lost Vince there, but he was touching on a good point that a lot of these proposals are aimed towards demand, and actually what they're doing is they're adding more demand or allowing more people to get into the market, which in turn increases the pool of buyers, which will then only allow more people to to enter the market and drive prices further up. So we're not sure how that's going to play out in the long run as we wait for Vince to come back. The other point here, double the first-time home buyers tax credit from $5,000 to $10,000, and put $1 billion in towards loans and grants for rent-to-own projects. So this one is a bit of a joke to me. It's not actually $5,000 right now. It actually, after you do your taxes, you get back what amounts to $750 credit. I mean, $750, that's not even half a mortgage payment. So I'm not sure what the value is here. Even if they double it to $1,500, it still won't do very much to help people get into the market. $1 billion towards loans and grants for rent-to-own projects. Rent-to-own, I mean, that's a whole other, we could talk all day about rent-to-own. I'm not sure how that's going to work as well, especially for landlords, and why they would want to be involved in something like this when, if you agree to a purchase price today for something that they're not going to actually sell for 2 or 3 years down the road, with prices going up consistently, why would any landlord agree to this? So I'm not sure how exactly that rent-to-own project is going to work. Create a tax-free first-time home home savings account. Oh, here he is. Back.
Start it over again there.
That's okay. Welcome back, Vince.
Sorry about that.
It seems we're both having technical issues today.
No problem. So as I was mentioning,
yeah,
the parliamentary budget officer did indicate that the Liberal plan would generate about 150,000 new homes. As to whether they'll be middle class or what is unknown, very vague in that perspective. But what concerns me is the tax-free first home savings account. I think they want to increase that or double it up. And again, it just generates more demand. And when there's more demand and no supply, it's going to generate activity that's going to increase values of homes. So the affordability issue tends to be still a problem. And I think this case, the current marketplace is more about availability as opposed to affordability. I think
you're 100% right.
The lack of distance, the lack of homes available to meet the demand, as we talked off the live show, there's still bidding wars out there. And August listing numbers were at a record low in GTA at 8,200, which is like 51% below last year's available listings. So we do have a problem, and it has to do with availability. And I just don't know how the federal government's, regardless of party affiliation, I don't want to really pinpoint one over the other, but there seems to be a concern about how they will align with both provincial and municipal governments to make this happen. Provinces control the land, municipal governments control permits and zoning. I don't know how this is going to happen. I think it's a pipe dream.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point as well. There has to be, I mean, in order for any of these platforms to work, there has to be some kind of cooperation with the provincial level and municipal level governments, right? Because they do control or they have jurisdiction over housing and bylaws and things like that. So,
and let's talk a little bit about manpower, right? Like immigration.
Okay. Yep.
The numbers for June and July have been reported by the Minister of Immigration, Marco Mendocino.
Yep.
June came in at 35,700.
Mm-hmm.
July was 39,500. They allowed 184,000 permanent residents in the country to date. They do believe that they will hit their 400,000 plus target for the year, which means at a minimum, they have to average about 43,500 new permanent residents per month for the rest of the year to hit that target. And my question is, where are they going to live? Like, as you know, you can't build a house in 3 months. Like, it takes a year plus permitting, planning, and all that fun stuff. So I just don't know where these people are going to live. And as I mentioned on the show, I think the best option right now is to clear out your basements and find some opportunities to build some basement apartments, because these people are going to have to live somewhere, and it could pose an opportunity to generate some rental income for those that have empty space.
No, that's a great point, for sure. Absolutely. So let me bring this back up. I want to touch on this one here a little bit. Introduce a home buyer's bill of rights that would include measures to criminalize blind bidding, because this one has been all over. I mean, it's been a point of contention, at least in my industry. OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, and Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, TREB, have both put out statements early on. And in my opinion, they were very sensationalistic statements. They took an extreme view and focused on the criminalization aspect of this. A little far-fetched in my opinion, but like you said, the blind bidding aspect, that's Ontario jurisdiction. So, I mean, yes, they have jurisdiction over the criminal code, but I'm not sure how the federal government can, make a difference in the way that offers are being submitted and the way houses are being sold. There was an issue about homeowners not having a choice to how they sell their homes, which, in my opinion, that's baloney. Because basically, all you're doing by removing blind bidding is now you're allowing the other party to know what you're bidding. Which I'm not saying I'm for or against. I'm just saying that I'm not sure if that's the answer either, because if I put in a bid and you know what my bid is, then you can outbid me by 5,000 and I can do the same, and we can keep outbidding each other until it gets to a level anyway. So I think the big money is going to win regardless. So do you think this is going to help at all with affordability?
Ambrose, you're absolutely correct. An auction is a way to get people to be emotionally involved in a transaction. And I don't see how an open auction is going to reduce values of homes. If you let more people aware that there's a property that's going up for sale on a street, and they could all come at one time to start doing an open auction on it, I could guarantee 9 times out of 10 that it's going to go for more than what you do on a closed bidding process. So I just don't know how this is going to benefit the people who lose out on bidding wars. Okay, this is fluff. This is catering to a perception that something's going to be done with it. And like you said, it's not even federal jurisdiction. Everything's governed provincially in this respect. And it it is fluff. And I just don't think it's going to have any benefit whatsoever. We live in a free market. People should be able to sell their homes for whatever the market deems appropriate.
Right.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. We have a supply problem. That's the issue. Bottom line. If there was enough homes for sale, we wouldn't have bidding wars.
Okay.
And again, it's all about availability. It's not affordability. It's all about having federal governments not aligned with provincial governments and municipal governments about what's coming in as far as immigration and what is available in the form of supply for housing. Where are we going to put these people? And add on the 600,000 plus foreign students that come to Canada to be educated within our education system. And now you have a further glut of demand for housing.
Yeah.
And, I just think it's a lot of fluff, and it's just trying to gain votes at different party levels.
No, I agree with you there on that last point, 100%. I agree with you. But the last point's interesting, impose a ban on foreign ownership in the next 2 years. I mean, how much of a problem is foreign ownership? I'm not sure about that. If it's, what is it, 4%?
I came across some information from Stats Canada.
Yep.
Stats Canada found that non-resident home ownership in BC, Ontario, and Nova Scotia sat between 2 and 4%. The numbers are stable over the course of the decade. Okay. They also found that most non-resident owners had purchased condos. A significant part of housing inflation comes with respect to freestanding or semi-detached homes, not necessarily condos. So that's an interesting tale. I think what concerns me is Canada is a country of immigrants. And just because there's minorities standing outside of a sales office looking to buy homes doesn't mean that they're foreigners. Okay, and I believe that is a misconception, according to Stats Canada, that is out there. And we're targeting a ghost. Yes, there is foreign ownership. It did come in via money laundering in BC and the casino scandal. Yes, I agree with that. But that's not the root of the problem. We still have a supply problem. And at the end of the day, if you really want to tackle this, you got to stop having people buy property in corporations. I don't know how they're going to solve that. It's just never going to happen. Yeah. Those corporations are veiled, so you really can't see who is actually owning these things. And a lot of this foreign ownership is fronted by residents, mostly students, that are here and are granted permanent residence once they graduate. So I don't know how you solve this problem. Like, I think with all these endowments universities have and all the land that they have under their possession, why don't you force them to build more housing on their campuses instead of students going out into communities where families are living and need that real estate as opposed to students? Like, you look at UBC. I was out there a couple of years ago. Okay. They have a huge amount of land. They should be building more real estate. If they want to bring in more foreign students because they can charge them 3 or 4 times the amount of tuition fees, build the units out there. Same with U of T. Same with York. Same with all these universities across the country that want that extra money because foreign tuitions 3-4 times the amount of a regular tuition, have them forced to build more units to accommodate instead of that student base taking up the homes within communities that are meant for Canadians and families.
That's a very interesting point, actually. I never even thought about that. But, wow, maybe you should be running for...
Too many skeletons in the closet.
Excellent. All right, let's take a quick look at the PC's plan right now then. So here we go. So they want to build 1 million homes over the next 3 years and release 15% of government. So this is similar to what you were just saying, right? Except not from a university standpoint, but from a government standpoint, they want to release 15% of government-owned real estate and convert them into rental properties. They want to have municipalities receive federal funding for public transit to increase density near that transit. Incentivizing developers by extending the ability to defer capital gains. I like this one actually because it just allows more growth of rental housing, but I'll let you speak on that as well before we get into the other ones. So what are your thoughts here?
I'm going to tell you a little story. I live in North York.
Yep.
And adjacent to our community, between Allen Road and Wilson Heights, is
Okay.
some undeveloped land that's
Okay.
been sitting empty for
Okay.
high density use.
Okay.
We
Yep.
moved in 2003. It's
Okay.
2017. They have been arguing about what they should build there for the last 18 years. So
Oh my God.
it's slated for high density condos, stack towns, and all that stuff.
Right. Right.
They can't decide what to put there. There's a subway that's there. There's the Allen Expressway. The Downsview lands are on the other side of Allen Road. That looks to be they want to develop it. It takes decades. And this is an example of how slow the process is. So again, how are they going to build these things fast enough? There are 400,000 immigrants coming into the country each year for the next 3 years, plus the quota that didn't come in 2020 that they say they're going to fill. So that's 1.4 million to 1.5 million new immigrants coming into Canada. A third land in GTA, and the third that got to go elsewhere, like Flin Flon, Manitoba, don't get on the connecting flight because they stay in GTA.
Right.
So you have all these people coming here. Where are they going to live? This is the question Canadians have to be asking. I don't know which program is going to expedite the building of these homes. These are very ambitious numbers by all three parties. The realistic nature of whether these could be delivered is another thing. I read a report from the Parliamentary Budget Officer on the Liberals' national housing strategy that was implemented a number of years ago. The report found, this is from the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the report found that critical housing funding for low-income people is declining. Spending on new construction was delayed and less than promised. Of the $70 billion supposedly being spent, 40% is via loans and 30% is actually new money. Since the launch of the plan in 2017, it's built only 63,000 homes, 15,700 per year. This activity is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. And how do you incent builders, the private sector, to want to build faster? We don't have the trades to build faster. When you want to build faster, it costs more. So
100%.
Is it affordable?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be affordable.
Right.
So
no, excellent point about the trades as well. So, and I heard that we're getting fewer and fewer people going to trade schools and things like that. So, I mean, that's only going to get worse as well, as we need to build even more, right? So, I'm not sure how that's going to work out either.
Landros, it's an interesting phenomena we're dealing with here, right? Because we know what the problem is, and it amazes me how there's not an emergency task force from all levels of government, the private sector, developers that sit at a table to try to figure it out. Because if you're going to drive the economy through immigration, they have to live somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if tent cities across the country are going to cut it when we're a four-season nation.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Wow. Excellent points, for sure. These other ones, I mean, they speak to, again, demand as well. All they're doing is increasing demand, like encouraging a new market for 7 to 10-year mortgages. Now, forgive my ignorance, but isn't there already 10-year mortgages in place, right? Those are already available?
Yeah, I think what they're trying to suggest here, Lambros, is if you take a 7 or 10-year mortgage, the stress test wouldn't come into play.
Oh, I see. Got it.
So the long-term nature of the term would allow more people to qualify for more property and not be under the guise of the stress test. But the problem you have there is it's going to be very difficult for banks to allow that to happen because the National Housing Act indicates that any term over 5 years could be broken with just a simple 3-month interest. And that causes a problem for funding of these products because, as you know, banks love to get their pound of flesh. and those interest rate differential penalties, if you break before maturity, is how they get that pound of flesh. So this will have to align with the Housing Act to not limit just a 3-month penalty on any term over 5 years. So it's going to be interesting how they play that out. But I like the fact that they're incenting developers to defer capital gains tax if they're selling rental properties and reinvesting in rental housing, which is what we do need. We do need more rental housing. So
100%.
there's a bit of play there with incenting the public sector. I think that's a good sign. What I do believe is missing in all these plans is allowing homeowners to build secondary units in their home, i.e. basement units, coach houses, and the like, because that would add immediate units that are in dire need as this immigration push continues.
Yes, no, absolutely. But again, I think that's more of a provincial level thing or a municipal level thing because it speaks to
municipal, yes. But I think what the feds could do is incent the municipalities to do that. So give them some infrastructure money to accommodate the volume in these communities that is going to have an extra set of wheels on the road, extra people commuting, and the like. But I think there could be some money there for infrastructure to help with the increase in density. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good idea for sure. This one here, increase the limit on the eligibility for mortgage insurance. I'm assuming what they're speaking there about is the to allow it for greater than, because right now it's cut off at $1 million, correct? Right.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting one because I truly believe we had an opportunity to increase these caps with inflation. Okay. And what it did was if someone had the wherewithal, especially young professionals that have good income but don't have the down payment saved up, they would be tapped out at $1 million. And as the average mortgage amount has increased over that level for the GTA, Vancouver, and a few other communities across the country, it's really limited the ability of certain buyers to compete with wealthy individuals. And I think that's where the gap has widened between the rich and the poor, is they've been able to build wealth with real estate and not be able to compete if they don't have the capital or the 20% down payment just yet. So I really like the fact that they want to increase the caps. There was at one point, this is going back in the 90s, CMHC had a cap at $250 as a purchase price, but they exceeded that number in GTA and Vancouver because of the variance in valuations in those communities. I'm surprised that CMHC did not do this. I am in shock as to what's happened to this crown jewel of a crown corporation that used to have 55, 60% market share in Canada and has now dwindled in the last quarter to only 23% market share in one term. And that, I think, is telling about what CMHC is aware of and what is happening in the marketplace. I think they've lost touch with what's going on in Canada.
No, I agree with you there. I just think the leadership at CMHC has come up with some poor decisions, and then they reversed their decisions, right? Didn't they change the rules recently and then went back to what they were before, kind of thing, and nobody followed them, right? So they changed the rules thinking that Sagan and Canada Guarantee would follow them, but they didn't, so they lost market share. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think there was the proper intent. I think the former head, Evan Siddall, got into pissing matches with the media and different organizations, and I think he took his eye off the ball, and he wanted to be some type of animated character in the community, and he really didn't need to. Okay, he had the mandate to house Canadians. That's the mandate of CMHC. It's to house Canadians, and he went off topic. And in doing so, he lost market share beyond belief and has turned it into, I'm going to say, a joke right now, because they got a long way to get back to where they were, and it's a long climb. This business is about relationships. Canada Guarantee and Sagan, formerly Genworth Financial, have great leadership. They have great relationships with their partners, And it's tough to unglue those relationships when they're working at optimum levels of efficiency and service levels. It's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah. Excellent points. Excellent points. So quickly, let's touch on the NDP's platform as well. While I bring that up. Here we go. Okay. So again, I mean, they speak a little bit to supply, create 500,000 affordable housing units over the next 10 years, with half of those in place over the first 5 years. Like you said, how realistic is that? I'm not sure. Preserve
Well,
1.
You know what,
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I give kudos. It's the most realistic.
Okay.
They're talking 50,000 affordable housing built per year, which is reasonable. So I think that's possible. The budget associated with it is a little bit concerning because I worked out the numbers. The amount of money they're going to throw at this program worked out to about 28,000 a unit. Now, I don't know where you're going to build these places, but they have to be built in GTA where people are landing. And as much as you could probably find cheaper land in the outskirts up in northern Ontario, how viable is it that people are going to want to go there? So, unless you get land for zero and you could build homes out of shipping containers, I don't see how this is going to work.
No, great points. Exactly. That's why I said I'm not sure how realistic it is. For sure, those are some good points.
But the numbers are realistic. The deliverables are realistic as to 50,000 a year. So I'll give them that. But what are you going to build?
All right. Preserve 1.7 million homes over the next 4 years. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Do you can you offer any insight on that one?
No, I don't know what that means.
I just pulled this from their site, so I'm not sure.
I'm probably going to, and don't quote me on this, but I'm going to probably suggest this is renovating existing rental stock that just doesn't hit the mark. There's some metro housing units that are in major disrepair. They need a refresh. They need a renovation. I am going to suspect that that's what that is. But then again, I could be wrong. But that's what I would suspect.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right on that one. I think that's exactly what they're referring to there, because they talked about building and they also talked about restoring and renovating, etc. So that's what it is. Reintroduce a 30-year term. I mean, again, this is increasing.
I like the increased amortization. I think that for some marginalized individuals that fall under a certain income level, I would even suggest increasing it to 35-year or 40-year to give them a hand. And I would limit that to only a certain income and less. The National Housing Strategy topped up at 120,000. I think they increased it to 150 for people that could qualify for the program. Something like that would allow that segment of demographic and income level to get into that market and have a little bit of an edge. So they're onto something here, but I think there's some opportunity here to possibly expand on it and make it a little bit more effective.
Okay, good. I like this next one as well. Remove the federal portion of the HST because this now allows at least a little bit more flexibility with the and incentivizes builders, right? Would you agree with that
How
one?
about eliminating levies and permit fees and educational deposits? Maybe that's something that could be looked at as well. As you know, I did the Hot Property Show for 19 years. One of my panelists was a good friend at Tribute Homes. They indicated to me that the average soft cost to build a condo in Toronto is $150,000 per unit.
Wow.
That's not even putting a nail in a piece of wood or spending any money on materials. That's simply soft costs, permits, reports, studies, environmental issues. All these reports. It's mind blowing that
Yeah.
$150,000 of each unit sold goes to soft costs, and it's primarily government red tape.
No, I agree with you there, 100%. And I think the Liberals had a plan as well, that home. I'm not sure what it's called now, the housing affordability plan, that spoke a little bit to soft costs. But again, unless we see what the actual details are of it, I'm not sure if that's something that's going to help. But you're bang on with those the levies and the all these other soft costs. It's just that needs to be addressed more so than all this other stuff. I agree. Double the existing home buyers tax credit. This is similar to what the Liberals were proposing as well. I spoke a bit about this while you had gone off and come back on again. To me, that's a bit of a joke, because all it results is about $750 to $1,500 now, in tax credit, which is not even a mortgage payment, right? So I'm not sure how that's going to help, if anything. Right?
I like,
What do you
the rent subsidy. I think
The rent subsidy is good, sure. Yeah.
those living in the city where rental prices are going through the roof because of foreign students. Okay, foreign students have really taken a toll on rental units in the city. Okay, and their nomadic nature of only being here for 1 or 2 years allows landlords to jack up rents more often than a resident living in the unit for a long time. So what landlords are doing is they want to make their units available to student housing because they know there's going to be turnover more often than a traditional tenant that needs a place to stay and something more affordable. So I think this would be very useful for any party to consider. And if it's going to be a minority government, you may see this on the table when they're trying to negotiate, some type of deal to keep people in power and all that fun stuff that happens in Ottawa. So how that works out.
That's an excellent point, actually, that you brought up about the turnover and increasing the rents, et cetera. So I never even thought of it that way. Impose a 20% tax. So instead of banning foreign buyers, they want to tax the foreign buyers. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, because haven't we had a foreign buyers tax already in place in Toronto and Vancouver, where the majority of this is happening anyway? So these are the two biggest markets, and hasn't really affected the market anyway. So I'm not sure if this is going to help.
I don't even think you could track it. Like I said earlier, these foreign buyers have fronts that are buying these properties for them, that are actual residents. This goes right up with the municipal government in Toronto wanting to fine people for feeding pigeons. Like, this is just for the birds. This doesn't make any sense. You can't track this. Vancouver hasn't been able to track this stuff, and it costs more money than what they're collecting. So it just seems like an exercise in futility, if you ask me.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. All right, so there you have it. I mean, I don't want to drag it on too long. We're just over 40 minutes right now. Any other parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you can offer?
Lambros, I always enjoy sharing my thoughts. Sometimes they're a little bit out there, but what I try to do is I try to really simplify life, simplify the data, try to give people a synopsis that they could really make sense of. I don't like using, inflationary numbers and this economic terminology. It's all about supply and demand. Okay. Yeah. Most people understand that. I try to make sure everyone can understand what I'm talking about. And the reality is we don't have an affordability problem. We have an availability problem. And until we have more supply, we're going to have continuous increases in values. We have seniors that are no longer selling their homes. Okay, that was a group that used to be called empty nesters, and they would downsize. So all those single detached homes that were owned by grandma and grandpa, they're not leaving the family stranglehold. Okay, they're keeping them. COVID has caused them to fear going into long-term care facilities, retirement residence, and assisted living opportunities. Right. They're not moving. So there's another segment that's not turning over at the pace we were used to decades ago.
Yeah.
And with values going up, the families are saying, why sell it? Let's keep it in the family, turn it into a rental.
Exactly.
Maybe young kids who can't afford a home could live there, and they could kind of look after grandma and grandpa while, not having a full-time personal care worker.
Right.
Families are really trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it's thrown a wrench into the whole life cycle of a home as we've known it.
Yeah.
And never have I experienced this in my 30-year career, have more people not want to sell and buy up. They're refinancing and buying up. They're keeping their real estate. I call it real estate hoarding.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I've touched on this several times as well. You're absolutely right. They're taking out the equity and maybe even buying more property, right? So now the supply becomes even less while the demand increases, right? So
I don't know where this is going to end, but I will say this: with rates as low as they are, inflation being where it's at, and like everybody should, I've talked about this on the previous show. Everybody should start doing their own inflation numbers. Everybody should be tracking how much they pay their groceries, how much they pay their food, their utilities, your daily, everyday expenses, and really see how much things have gone up. Because the government that calculates the inflation rate control the weighting of every product within it. If you look at StatsCan's weighting of the inflation index, the basket of goods, housing's weighted at less than 10%. We all know housing represents more than 10% of everybody's basket of goods.
Yeah.
So how realistic is this number, right? Everybody's basket of goods is different. So don't rely on the government to tell you what inflation is. Everybody's inflation number is different. You should know what yours is, because you know how much you make, you know how much you spend, and you know what's left over. And do the homework, do the math. It'll help you understand what's happening in your financial circle.
Excellent point. I love that. That's a great note to leave off on. So if people want to reach out to you, Vince, where can they reach you?
I have my Instagram live show every Thursday at 7 p.m. It's called the Wise Old Owl Show. I'm up to, I think this week will be episode 43. Having a lot of fun with that. Engagement with my viewers and followers have been phenomenal. I really enjoy it. You can call me at the office, 416-613-5363, or visit OwlMortgage.ca. And hey, we're here to help. We're here to provide some insight on how to build wealth with real estate and help people tap into debt equity so they could build up their net worth and try to leave a legacy for their family and their kids.
Perfect. That was amazing. Thank you again very much, Vince, for coming on the show.
I'd love to do it again.
For sure. Absolutely. We'll do it again. No problem. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.